Hello Bobcats, Mr. Flato here. Welcome back to another fantastic week at the Helena Middle School. As promised, this week I'm going to continue to talk about resiliency, grit, perseverance, and specifically this week and probably the next 2 or 3 I'm going to dive into some emotional strength traits that emotionally strong people do not do or do, depending on how you look at the situation. This is a tough time of year for a lot of people. The days are dark. We don't have a whole lot of sunlight. Depression is running rampant. And I think this is a perfect time to talk about some of these things. As 7th and 8th graders, you're coming into a tough time in life, developing emotionally, developing physically, developing socially, and for some of you that are maybe struggling or not, you may face these things someday. So I hope you guys get something out of this. I'm about to put my heart into this like I always do. So without further ado, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School 7th and 8th grade Bobcats and enjoy this Bob lesson that I think I'm going to name Things Emotionally Strong People Do Not Do. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. All right, we are on to our next Bob lesson for the week, and this one's going to be called Emotional Strength Part 1. This week, before we get started, let's be our best at HMS. Let's be safe, let's be responsible, let's be respectful, and let's be a learner. All right, the first of my 4 slides today is going to be emotionally strong people don't need attention. And when I'm talking about attention, I'm talking about mostly negative attention, acting out in class, creating drama in your social circles to get attention. Emotionally strong people don't need attention for validation that they are okay, and that's because they have built their self-confidence to a point where they don't rely on others for attention to feel good. They're good on their own. Feeling unsure of your self-worth is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't know your worth, nobody else will recognize your worth. All right, slide number 2 that emotionally strong people do not do. They don't allow others to bring them down. Emotional strength requires resiliency, grit, and perseverance. And we've been talking about these traits for the last couple weeks now. Newsflash, folks, the world is filled with an abundance of negative people. Anywhere you go, any school you go to, any town you go to, there's going to be a mix of all different types of people. Positive people, negative people, nice people, mean people. And unfortunately, the world is filled with jealousy and envious people that want to bring you down to their level. And that's a lot of the discussions I have with students in my office is when other people disrespect them, how do we respond to that? Why are they disrespecting? And I'm going to talk a lot about more of this coming up here in future Bob lessons. It's going to happen. You're going to come across people that are going to try to tear you down, and whether you let that happen or not is your decision. Have you checked your inner circle lately? Sometimes those that bring us down the most are those that are closest to us, those around us that don't want to see us doing good things. That's why it's so important to keep a friendship circle where your friends are encouraging and uplifting and helping you reach your goals. So keep your friendship circle filled with people who lift you up and not those that tear you down. And spend most of your time in the friendship circles around people that are positive, and limit your time around other people that may try to tear you down. All right, slide number 3 of things emotionally strong people don't do. They don't hold grudges, and I'm going to be the first to admit this is one of my weaknesses. When somebody crosses me or treats me disrespectfully, I may forgive, but I never forget, and it's a really hard thing for me, and this is something that I'm working at getting better at as well. Newsflash, folks, people are going to treat you unfairly in life. Kind of tying to the last slide, we're all fallible human beings that make mistakes, don't handle situations correctly sometimes, and you are going to come across people in life that don't treat you right. If someone does you wrong and they apologize genuinely, accept their apology and move on. We only have so much emotional energy to give in any given moment, any given day, any given week. If you waste some of that emotional energy on negativity and holding a grudge, that's only going to rob the emotional energy that you could be spending on positivity and doing good things and being good to people. If people do you wrong and they don't apologize, move on with your life. It's their issue, not yours, and we need to be emotionally strong enough to push forward and not hold a grudge. All right, our last characteristic of emotionally strong people is they never stop doing their own thing. If you think about it, at the middle school developmental level where all of you are at, The main thing that a lot of you strive for is being accepted. You want to be accepted in a certain group. Nobody wants to stand out. Nobody wants to be the black sheep, because that's a very vulnerable and a lone feeling. Once you get post middle school and you get into high school and you get a little bit older, it's the exact opposite. Being original is cool. Being your own person is cool. And that's why I try to strive to be, and I try to encourage kids at the middle school level to just be themselves, be who they are, have the courage to be who you are. Emotionally strong people do what they do because they believe in it. They love it, and they're emotionally compelled and driven to do whatever it is they do because it's who they are. Now, if that's a negative thing, you may want to rethink that. But if that's a positive thing, like maybe being involved in extracurricular sports or being a student, doing all your homework, whatever it may be, dressing a certain way, having a certain self-expression, because that's who you are, emotionally strong people are just going to go ahead and do it. The coolest people recognize who they are, and they don't deviate from that, from who they are in any situation. They stay true to exactly who they are, and they don't change that up for anybody. That's self-confidence, and that's a good trait of emotional strength. All right, we are now on to our Jellybean Question of the Week winners from last week. Parker Verts, Jonathan Wright, Haley Keller-Olds, and Jesse Scrimshire. So the answer to that was the letter R, as in reverse. The hint was, ask somebody who's 16 or older. What that represented was the shifting gears on a manual transmission vehicle. If you didn't get that right, which there weren't many, there's always this week's Jellybean Question of the Week. And this week's Jellybean Question of the Week is, Wednesday, Tom and Joe went to a restaurant and ate dinner. When they were done, they paid for the food and left, but Tom and Joe didn't pay for the food. Who did? If you think you know, get your answer in by Friday to the Bob box. Make sure your name is on it, and maybe you will see your name on next week's Bob lesson. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.